the director of the original Little Mermaid, so the good Little Mermaid, recently spoke out and slammed Disney for their political messaging. He gave them some advice, some sage advice, that they need to course correct away from political messaging in their movies. And I think it's only fair to say that when you've really been in the position of the creator of one of these movies, and you're the reason for a lot of Disney's success, this guy has he has a leg to stand on when it comes to telling Disney what to do. Yeah. So he was doing this interview at some summit for animators in Spain, and I'm just going to read out what he had to say to Disney. I think they need to do a course correction a bit in terms of putting the message secondary, behind entertainment and compelling story and engaging characters. The classic Disney films didn't start out trying to have a message. They wanted you to get involved in the characters and the story and the world, and I think that's still the heart of it. You don't have to exclude agendas, but you have to first create characters who you sympathize with and who are compelling.
I think
you do need to exclude agendas, though.
I mean, you could look at any old Disney movie or really any movie, and somebody could logic their way into saying that this was the point of the movie. Sometimes
in like a movie from the 90s, it will communicate the spirit of the time, but that's in no way what the storytellers were consciously adding to it. Going out of their way and like going against the grain to insert certain messages. Like if you're just, I'm sure there's messaging in the classic Disney princess films, but it's not like they were totally conscious of the fact that they were doing that, because it was just the spirit of the time in which it was made.
Or the heavy dialogue that referenced it is edited out and not left in. Like that's one of the big things that I seem to feel like is a huge problem, is like there isn't like hardcore editors who are out there like, does this piece of dialogue need to be there? There isn't a producer who is conscious of the general audience nature of it, meaning that you're speaking to everyone, not just a small group of people, and saying like, does this line of dialogue feel out of place? It's like when Nicole Kidman mentioned greenhouse gases in Aquaman. Okay, like, sure, it's relevant to the story. Does it need to be there? Or does it drag you out of the storyline entirely?
It should be mentioned, by the way, that this guy also co-directed the Disney Princess and the Frog movie, which was met with mixed reception over the depiction of Disney's first black Disney princess. I don't remember there being mixed reception over there being a black Disney princess, really, but I'll take their word for it. It was 2009, so I think we had gotten well over our racial tensions in the country.
We were kind of at a high point.
In 2009?
In 2009.
Okay, so here's what he said about that. We weren't trying to be woke, although I understand the criticism. And he says the animated, like he says that his opinion is the animated movies don't need live action remakes. Companies are always like, how do we reduce our risk? They like this thing, right? We'll just do it again and sell it to them in a different form. Or they think, well, we could make it better. And that's why he didn't like the live action The Little Mermaid. Not because they chose a black actress, but that's the way that they're going to spin it anyway.
So one of the tweets that I saw talking about this that says, what political messaging, black people existing isn't political message, black people isn't, they wrote this horribly. Let me try again. What political messaging? Black people existing isn't political messaging. It's just a thing people are. That's not the point they're making here, though. The point is that when you take a traditionally white character that has a predetermined history, it's already existed for half a century, and you change it, that is messaging, whether you like it or not. They also go through the old number where they say, can you define the term woke? When people say that, much like what I was talking about with action movies and women, I say, you know it when you see it.
Exactly, yes. I think it should be pointed out, though.
It's going to be different to everyone. So you know it when you see it. It's going to be different to everyone. When it reaches critical mass and the majority think they saw it there, that's when you can officially define it that way. Different people have different criteria for what they label as woke.
Yeah.
Right? That's absolutely true. But when everyone unanimously agrees, that's when you can confidently give it that label. But the ambiguous nature of the term is both a deflection from the people who support it and a problem for the people who don't, because it's very hard to have a fair debate about this when no one can settle on a term for it. What is Tim's definition? He says the rigid adherence to progressive orthodoxy, where progressive story comes before the all else. When you're telling when you're making a movie,
there was nothing woke about the storytelling in the live action Little Mermaid.
No. I mean, what wasn't there like they took away some of the prince's achievements?
Barely. I mean, that's like very difficult to argue for that because it's very subtle.
Or let's go
look. It should be pointed out. The Little Mermaid going from a white woman with red hair to a black woman with red dreadlocks is a message.
Yes.
It's a message in and of itself. And if you deny that, you're being disingenuous. That's just true.
And the example could go back to Furiosa. Look, Furiosa, I didn't see anything like that inherently in the story other than the choice to take a story that would generally feature a male lead and feature a female. That doesn't make the rest of the storytelling inherently progressive or woke, though I'd say that it has progressive elements to it.
Mm-hmm. So the director specifically criticized the 2023 live-action adaptation of The Little Mermaid, saying they didn't play up the father-daughter story, and that was the heart of the movie in a way. And the crab, you could look at live animals in a zoo, and they have more expression, like with The Lion King. That's one of the basic things about Disney is the appeal. That's what animation does best. He's definitely right about The Lion King because that looked like a nature documentary.
I'm going to draw you back to another example from the show that I'm watching. If you want another example of how storytelling would have been different 20 years ago. So there in the episode that I was talking about in a previous segment about how she basically won't admit that she's wrong and she makes all of these mistakes. She gets herself into trouble. And then basically she gets out, like she gets framed by this other cop. And then she basically beats the crap out of the cop and arrests him, even though he had the drop on her. But the other character is like racing against time to get to her. In an old version of that story, he would have had to at least save her before she got, because she let her pride get the better of her. Right? That's, in my opinion, that would be what I would consider woke storytelling. Meaning that they let their desire to let the woman get the last laugh come before the story.
Sure. Yeah. I mean...
You could have done the story the complete opposite way where the guy is the one who's getting framed and won't admit he's wrong. They would always let the woman come and save the day now.
Yeah.
In that situation. They will not allow the reverse to happen.
But because there's no one-to-one comparison, you're kind of just doing the Always Sunny meme where you're just connecting a bunch of yarn pieces on a cork board and you look crazy for pointing out how that story would have been written differently
20 years ago.
And then they're like,
I would love to have
really? That's woke.
I would love to have a channel where I just get to go through and point out everything that could be better on stuff that not even.
But what they're always going to say is like, if you think you could do it better, make it yourself. And I think that's not a good comeback, actually. I really don't think that's a valid
comeback. If we're making a ton of money, then sure.
Because, saying that you dislike a piece of art doesn't mean you're claiming you could do it better.
Correct.
I'm just saying. And it should be noted that this guy directed the better version of everything they're remaking right now. And unfortunately, every problem that he just pointed out in Disney's business, every problem that he just called out Disney for, it's too late to find a solution. It's over for them.
I mean, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt anymore.
They're just going to dig in their heels at this point. He has pointed it out about 10 years too late. I think maybe even more. So yeah, it's good to see them called out. But
again,
overall, nothing is going to change.
So I want to go through some of these because I thought it's really funny because when you go through comments like this, it's always like this weird form of like, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean?
What message?
I don't know if I don't know if you consider that gaslighting, but somebody says, She is obviously wrong. There have been successes with it. I mean, I don't know what Disney has been successful with recently other than Guardians of the Galaxies. There was another one that I thought was really funny that said Disney was fine. They had the top 3. They had the most movies at the box office in the top 10 last year. That is not true. They tied for number 1 with Universal, who also had 3. So Disney had 3 in the top 10. Universal had 3 in the top 10. Warner Brother had 2. Paramount had 1, and Sony had 1. Here's the thing, though. Disney spent $1 gazillion on all of those movies. So none of that matters. Like, it does not matter if they had 3 top 10 movies. They own like 7 companies. Okay,
top 10 movies.
So one of them was a Pixar. One of 2023. One of them was a Pixar movie.
Right.
One of them was a Marvel movie. One of them was a Disney movie. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy made a little bit of money. The Little Mermaid lost money. The other one was not Inside Out 2. What was that's the one coming out this year. I forget what it was, but it was an animated movie. Look,
I mean, maybe it's just gotten to the point where, you know, Amazon is going to fully replace shopping malls and streaming is going to fully replace movie theaters. Yeah. And that's just a sign of the times. And we haven't gotten to the conclusion yet. Maybe it's just fully obsolete.
Disney as a brand?
Disney as a brand, but also like movie theater, like movies made for the theaters in general.
Yeah.
Maybe it's over. Like maybe that time in history is over.
There's
a $20 from Patrick McNeely. I used to want another modern Herbie the Love Bug movie, but Disney keeps dropping the ball on their live action stuff. The modern Little Mermaid makes Fully Loaded look good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
There's very little that's coming out these days that I actually... Yeah, it might have been Elemental. Thank you. Elemental was the number 10 movie. Look, there's very little that's coming out these days. My first instinct is always pessimism with most of the things. I'm actually getting mildly, kind of, sort of, maybe a little bit excited to see Deadpool plus Wolverine just because... Why not? I guess. Fine. Whatever. But it's not the excitement that I had when Deadpool 1 came out. It's just not.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.